Good evening, and welcome to World History Now, where we bring you breaking news from the 1300s. I'm Torn Altenberg, and tonight we're covering an outbreak moving faster than fat people when they hear about McDonald's spicy nuggets. The Black Plague. What is it? How is it spreading so quickly? And most importantly, how can you avoid becoming one of the featured guests on the next plague cart to the mass grave? Stay with us as we unpack the horrors of this historic health crisis. Tonight, we'll be speaking with Dr. CP, a medical expert who's here to explain science, or at least the closest thing to science in the 14th century. Plus, we'll check in with our field correspondent, Timmy, who's reporting live from a town where social distancing just means living long enough to see your neighbors leave. But first, let's get some context. The Black Plague, also known as the Bubonic Plague, is caused by a nasty little virus, bacteria, called Yersinia pestis. This disease spreads rapidly, turning bustling towns into ghost towns. Symptoms include fever, chills, swollen lymph nodes, called buboes, and skin that's so discolored you look like a gosh darn vampire. Joining us now is Dr. CP, a leading authority on infectious diseases. Dr. CP, how did this all begin? Where did this bacterial nightmare come from?
Thanks, Torrin. The origins of the Black Plague can be traced back to Central Asia, most likely in the 1330s. From there, it hitched a ride along the Silk Road, eventually reaching Europe through major trade hubs like Constantinople, Genoa, Venice. If you're thinking, oh, international trade sounds good for the economy, well, think again. This wasn't exactly the kind of import you'd want.
Yeah, imported goods really took on a new meaning with that one.
Absolutely. The disease's travel buddies, rats and fleas. Infected fleas would latch onto black rats, which were essentially Europe's unofficial roommates. Once the rats died, the fleas had to relocate. And guess who's on the housing list? Humans.
Yikes. So how fast are we talking here? Like, I'm late for work fast, or I'm being chased fast?
More like blink and it's already in the next town fast. Thanks to crowded cities, poor sanitation, and trade routes acting like medieval highways, the plague spread like wildfire. Major trade routes like the Silk Road and sea routes across the Mediterranean turned into express lanes for the infection.
That ain't good. Thank you, Dr. CP. Stay safe out there, and maybe invest in some flea repellent. Up next, we're heading live to a city feeling the full weight of the plague's impact. I turn to Timmy, who's reporting live from Venice, one of the hardest hit areas. Timmy, how's it looking out there?
Grim, Torn. It's not just a bad day here, it's a bad era. The streets are quiet except for the rumble of death carts carrying bodies to the mass graves. Shops and markets are closed. Towns criers aren't shouting news, they're shouting stay inside. Everyday life has been turned upside down. Families are either fleeing the countryside or barricading themselves indoors. The only people outside are plague doctors wearing those terrifying Berg masks, which, by the way, they do not make them look more approachable.
The whole crowds of doom vibe definitely isn't reassuring.
Symptoms of the plague are unmistakable. Fevers, chills, infamous buboes, and swollen lymph nodes that I'll be Googling, do I have the plague, in seconds. If this were the 21st century, survival rates, let's just say they're not looking good. About 1 in 3 people who catch it don't make it. Authorities are scrambling to respond. Quarantines are being forced. Stay home. Certainly is a little more than friendly advice. Religious leaders are chanting prayers through the streets. Some think it's just divine punishment. Others blame bad air or even conspiracy theories. Results? Riots, fears, and a little more than finger pointing.
Thanks, Timmy. As we've heard, the Black Plague isn't just a disease, it's a full-blown societal collapse in progress. With death carts on every street, quarantines enforced, and public prayers filling the air, it is clear that the life we know is changing fast. For those watching, the message is simple. Stay indoors, avoid crowds, and maybe consider getting a pet cat. They're better rat catchers than you think. This is Torrin Altenberg for World History Now, reminding you that sometimes sick days are more literal than you'd like. Stay safe, and we'll see you next time, hopefully not on a death cart.
Turn it off. Turn it off. Turn it off.
Back the horrors of this heuristic...
Frick. That one. Absolute. Acting like medieval hideaways.
Timmy! What'd you say?
I said W editing.
Everyday life.
Edit that out.